All right, Cory.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
You go like Cory Scott.
Yeah, on social platforms, sure.
Social platform. Yeah, so you're like a worship leader.
Mm-hmm.
You're a singer.
Yes.
You also have a social media. Would you say you're an influencer?
Yeah. I would say micro. I'm only in like 100,000s. There's people like in the millions. So it's like
Yeah.
I don't get paid often for the stuff that I do. I get like free product, but like I haven't like made a full-time career out of it yet. So.
And that's what you'd like to do.
Oh, I would love to do that. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely love that.
How'd you get on this path?
Honestly, so I've always felt like I was like meant for more,
Yeah.
I was serving at the time, like in a restaurant, actually this place right here.
Yeah.
But I was serving here and, I was like, I'm making connections with people, right? And they're awesome and I'm making money, but it's like, is that furthering my career? It's great to talk to people. It's great to get to know people, but is that furthering my career? And when COVID happened, everything shut down. And so I saw what it was like to not lose everything, but like get to the point where you're like, okay, now what? And my little brother at the time lived right next door to me, so I was blessed for that. And he was a really, really good photographer. I mean, he is a great photographer. So he was like, if you want to do this right, like let's get some headshots of you, And so we did, and I was like, that's awesome. It's the first time I've ever had someone like take legit pictures, like just like stylized, aesthetic, pleasing pictures of me. And so I saw what it did the first time, and I was like, I want to do this, So we posted them on Instagram. We started an Instagram. We posted them on Instagram, and I started gaining an audience. And then I was offered a deal with like a sponsorship, but the sponsorship I got initially was from UK, and I actually had to pay for it. Like it was like I had to pay for the clothes. Like I wasn't giving them for free or anything like that. It was a discount, so it's more like an ambassadorship, but they label it a sponsorship. So I was like, well, cool, I can put that in my bio and say like sponsored by. So it was a level up for me.
Yeah.
And then they had a deal where it's like if I reached a certain amount, they would fly me out and I'd be on photo shoots and stuff like that. Was in the contract, So I was like, oh, like this could be legit. Well, I mean that, it didn't like amount to anything because I think it was too good to be true. A great company, don't get me wrong, but it's like it never got to that level. But I was able to expand my network, meet new people, all that stuff. And then I think once one company sees you do it, another company is like, oh, we can see that you can do that. Here's our stuff, So it's like the biggest thing I've learned through this is that like brands won't use their imagination. They need to see what you're capable of first. So it's like you can't just be like, hey, I want to work with you. They're like, okay, what have you done? So from that, I got like a supplement company reach out to me, and they were like, hey, we want you to be our sponsor, and so we want to send you product and stuff like that. So I got to pick monthly product from them. But what people don't know is I actually paid for that too. It was like $40 a month to get everything at cost. So like they sent me free items a month, but then like I could also buy things at cost. And at the time I was using protein, creatine, pre-workout, all that stuff. So I was like, okay, I have something that kind of like that I represent now. Like I use this. And just to, keep the names out of it, I won't name names, but so I was able to secure a supplement company and a clothing company initially. And all that did was like expand my network, which is great. Well, then a marketing company reached out to me and they were like, hey, have you ever thought about marketing yourself? And I was like, I don't even really know what that is. I just thought people post online and they blow up, So it was just like,
it doesn't work that way?
Apparently not. So I was like, okay, you need to like expand your network. You need to, get involved. So I got involved with like some pretty awesome people, and they just kind of taught me that side of things. And at the time, it was just how much you can like bring traction to your Instagram, to get it to hit that point of virality or to hit that point of exposure. But also it's to build it as like a resume. So it's like your online resume. When you reach somebody, when you reach out to somebody or you meet somebody and you like, this is how you present yourself, they look at you in that light.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like they look at your following, they look at your numbers, they look at all that stuff. So it's like, okay, it taught me like a lot in the 4 years, but also what it taught me was I could leave my job to form a career in social media. And I can't thank them enough for that, because I don't think I would have taken that step without that, So it was like, okay, now so I had a lot of clients, to just coach them through the same things I learned through the company. which is really cool. I've done some amazing things, met some amazing people. But I think it ultimately led me to wanting to just create content instead of like marketing. And I just want to kind of show my creative side, and that's kind of like where I'm at right now. But I've worked with like, I will drop this one because this was official. I worked with Metrics, and I really, so MetRx, have you ever? Yeah. So I worked with them. They sent me product every single month. There was never anything paid, but it was cool. Like I met like really cool people. Like, you know, I met like a player on the LA Dodgers. I met like a guy who travels and just does like music for his life, and he like lived in Hawaii, and him and I were supposed to work together and network and like, you know, create songs together and stuff. And so my relationship with Metrics was really, really cool. And I fully believe that was because I built my social media. So it's like, you know, a lot of things were happening because of that. So yeah, I mean, it was one thing after the other. I was learning so much, and I was taking it all in, and it was almost like, you know, it was almost like a drug to me. Like I wanted to learn more. I wanted, you know, like I just wanted to know everything because I felt like I was so clueless from the beginning. And when someone was like, well, this is how people are presenting themselves, and this is why people are doing things, they were just kind of like giving me, you know, all the knowledge that I never had. I just didn't know. Like I didn't know why things were happening for certain people and not for other people.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool, very, very eye-opening, and it's definitely taught me a lot and brought me a lot of experiences.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When do you think your content started moving towards Christ and like...
Dude, that's a great question, because initially when I first started, my guy, Benny, shout out Benny, he actually was working with like Lupe Fiasco's team. And so like he caught like a lucky break, and he was taught the game on how to like build your social media and everything. So because we were really good friends, he was like, let me teach you. And he was like, create an Instagram, cut the Instagram off after posting a story saying like, I'm disappearing for a year. He was like, you and I will work hard, we'll build you up as an artist and everything, and then you'll just come out and like, you know, you'll drop the Instagram and you'll be like, you'll have like studio pictures, you'll have music, you'll have all of this. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did that, deleted my Instagram. And then when the time came for me to like open the Instagram up again, and we were going to start writing and, you know, performing in the studio and like recording and all that stuff, COVID hit. So when COVID hit, it was like, and he was having a child. And so he was like, I don't really feel comfortable. And I said, totally understand. Like everything was obviously brand new. We didn't know what to expect from this pandemic or anything like that. So it's like, lean on the side of caution, right? So it's like, I get it. But I was also like, dude, I built the Instagram, you know, like we did everything we're doing.
You did it.
So I was like, so what do I do now? Well, I actually started as like Cory Page Fitness was like my thing, because I was Cory Page. I was gonna be like, turn the page, and that's poetry, like songs, all that stuff. Like that's what I was working on. So it's like Cory Page. It pays homage to my last name, because the PAG, and so it's like, okay, cool. And then so I was like, well, what do I do every single day that I can post? And it was like, I was still working out at home. You know, I still had a couple clients, like I was training. And so I was like, okay, like, let me show people the fitness side of me, and let me just give people motivation, inspiration, all that stuff. So I was Cory Page Fitness for a little bit, and that's how I got into like the fitness game. And then after a while, you know, what's funny is like my wife always called me Cory Scott, because that's my middle name. And like, that was like me being in trouble.
Yeah.
And she did it in front of one of my best friends, and he was like, why do you never go by Cory Scott? Like, that's so professional. And I was like, I actually really like that. So I transitioned from Cory Page to Cory Scott. And so like, then it's like, I got to the point, I've always been involved in faith, you know. Over 10 years ago, my wife introduced me to the church that I'm a part of now, and definitely changed my life. And I always wanted to be a part of the worship team, because I didn't realize that music existed, like contemporary style Christian music existed, you know. And so like, because I was brought up on R&B, like Boyz II Men, Jodeci, and Casey and JoJo, all that stuff. And so like, I love to like riff and run and put my soul into it. And so like, for me, and it's no disrespect, because I've sang hymns before, but to me, like, hymns just don't do it for me. You know. And I walked into this church where it's non-denominational, you know, contemporary Christian style, and I heard it for the first time, and I said, I didn't know that you could connect to God that way, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I want to do that. And I was like, is there a position where you could possibly travel and worship lead, and like, you know, you could like make it your career, you know? And so like, I had that in my head, and I can't even tell you like the time that really transitioned from faith, like to go like hardcore into the faith and the content and everything. But I know like there was a time where I was listening when I was in sales still, and there was a time where I was like listening to like I think it was Alex Hormozy, and he said like you can't try to please everybody. Like everyone has their market, everyone has their audience, right? And so like the longest time I taught people, and I taught myself, that when you decide to go full-fledged in social media, you're a business. And as a business, you should be neutral. So you shouldn't post your views, you shouldn't post anything like that, right? Because you don't want to make an enemy before you make a friend, fan, or follower. And so like that was like how the principles that I lived my life on for social media. And then I listened to Alex Hormozy, and he's like, you might lose people, yes, but the audience that you will gain will definitely be there for you, because everyone has their own market. So I was like, okay, let me deep dive into faith then, because that's what I really want to do this for. I want to use this platform to say and do the right thing, or at least, you know, make a positive impact on somebody. So I think it just, that's what kind of changed and altered my thinking, where it's just like, I do have an audience out there and I have to lean towards them. But also my style of faith, and I've told you this before, is like, it's not glorifying saints, but it's you know, giving grace to sinners. So it's like, for me, it's I want to show people that a Christian is somebody who wears skinny ripped jeans and like has tattoos and sometimes swears because they stub their toe or whatever, right? But it's just like someone who doesn't get everything right, and that's
authentic.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
And so like I want to show people, like, because there's a lot of people like that in this world, and I think they put Christianity on a pedestal that nobody can ever reach. And I think it's the opposite, where you flip it and you realize that God is that pedestal and you need him for everything. And so it's like, if you know that you can be imperfect, because no one is perfect but God. And I think a lot of people think in order to be Christian, in order to be faithful, you have to live up to that perfection, and that's why they never get there.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I'm trying to show you that it's like, it's okay to mess up. It's okay to have all these, you know, these trials and tribulations, and you can still have that faith. So it's like, that's kind of like where it's like, I'm gonna be a Christian influencer, but I'm gonna be very unorthodox, and it's like, I'm probably gonna offend some people, but it's also like, I want to show you that that's real, that's raw, and I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. You know? So
yeah, it's cool that God meets us where we're at too, and that like, yeah, that authenticity it's a real thing we go through.
Yeah, 100%, dude. It's crazy, because like I was going to give up. I didn't really know what was happening, and this guy came up to me at the gym. I'll never forget. I posted a TikTok of it too, because I was like just in awe. This has never happened to me. And he came up to me and he was like,
just randomly?
Yes, I've never met him before in my life. He walks up to me and he goes, "Hey, I want to tell you, like, I can see that," because I was just like chilling on my phone. I was on like the, you know, like extension machine or whatever, maybe like curls or whatever, but I was just sitting there and I was chilling on my phone, and I was going through it. I was definitely going through it, because in order to step away from a job that pays you guaranteed money 9 to 5, or like, you know, even in the restaurant, I know that if I'm working X amount of days, I'll probably make this much, you know what I'm saying? And just like kind of go for it all online. It's scary. And my wife, you know, I love her, and like, she was super supportive, as much as she could be though. Like I don't blame her, because it's very hard to like watch your husband go follow his dreams when his dreams aren't exactly like putting forth the money to pay for all the bills and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, to start a business, they say like the first 3 years you don't make any money. So it's like, it's hard, you know? And so it was affecting my marriage, and I was second guessing everything. And this guy walks up to me at the gym and he said, I see you going through something, and I want you to know that you should not stop doing what you're doing. He was like, I just felt it heavy on my heart to come here and tell you that, like, he was like, are you a writer? Like, do you write? And I was like, I write poetry. Yeah, I love writing poetry, and I've always wanted to do something with it. And he was like, I see you like writing something that just changes someone's life. Ooh. And he was like, I don't want you to stop doing this. I felt it heavy on my heart. I really felt God tell me to come tell you this. And I was just like,
he said, God tell me.
Yes. And I was like, I was in awe. I was like, dude, like, this was literally like, I felt like it was God's thank you to me. Like, it was just like him saying, like, don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, what you're doing is making a difference. And I wish I was making it up, but I wasn't, because it's just I didn't even work out the rest of that day. Like, I didn't even work out the rest of that day. Like, I stopped what I was doing. I walked up to him and I was like, I just want to say thank you. Like, I've never had someone do that for me, and I truly needed it. He was like, I really felt like God was telling me to come tell you that, so and he was like, can I pray for you? And literally, like, in the middle of the gym, while everyone's slamming weights, Godsmack is in the background, heavy metal, he put his hand on me and he prayed for me, man. And I left in tears. I got in the car and I was bawling, because I was just like, that's exactly what I needed. That's exactly what I needed. And that, I think, is the moment where I was like, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in.
Well, that builds our faith right there. That's like a faith builder in your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild.
It's crazy. I've had a lot of moments like that where just like reassurance was given to me.
Yeah.
So
did you see things change when you decided to go all in?
Yes. I think. Well, aside from like some negative comments that I get and everything here and there, it's like the Christian community is super uplifting. It's super supporting. Even I've obviously I said I'm unorthodox. Like, I say certain things that Christian influencers probably wouldn't say. And I've gotten calls at night where, they've questioned like my discipleship, I guess you could say. Really? But like, they're very like constructive calls. Like, it's very like, it's, hey man, like, let's just unpack this together. And I don't mind that. It's fine. I'm all like, social media is there to have conversations, so, yeah. But I felt like I was finally making a difference. So like, when I decided to go all in, I was like, I'm doing this for somebody else's mission, not my own. And that to me felt fulfilling, so.
To do it for someone else.
To do it for God. Like, it's his mission, it's not my mission.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So it's like, for me, it's like, I'm just a vessel. I'm just a pawn, I'm just someone who's trying to push people along the same way that I was pushed, I felt like with my church's faith is, I think it's a little unorthodox as well, because like, if you go to like a non-denominational contemporary style Christian church and you've been a part of like a very traditional style church your whole life, it's different, and they wear jeans instead of dressing up all the time, all that stuff. And it's like, it makes you realize that like, you got to take the religion out of it and focus on the relationship. And so like, that was eye-opening for me, where it's like, okay, now I'm not worried about religion. I'm not worried about a set of rules or anything like that. I'm just worried about the relationship between me and God, because it is very personal, So, I think that concept truly saved my faith, and it really solidified it. And so I was like, if I can take that and recreate that in different forms of content to show people throughout the world, it might do that for them too.
Yeah.
So that's, that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, that's sweet.
And obviously make a career out of it, but
yeah, which is like along the path, right?
Yeah, it's working towards that. I've had moments, but nothing solid yet.
Yeah, I'm believing it's gonna happen for you.
I feel that too. I appreciate that.
Yo, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Do you think that like being out there on social media and also being out there as a worship leader are like, does one help the other, or like, because you're in front of people?
Yes and no, because I enjoy when people reach out to me and they say like, this video, helped me. And like, cause I've had conversations on social media before where I just like set the camera in front of me and I just talk about something that was heavy on my heart, and it's great because then people reach out and they're like, I really needed to hear this. And it's like, cool, because I needed to hear it. So I'm glad that you needed to hear it as well.
Yeah.
But like, a lot of people, I don't know, it's hard because they always say like, you can't serve God and money, right? But I'm not serving money. I'm serving God, but obviously you need money to survive, right? So it's like, if you give off the perception that you're doing this for success and for career, you're giving off the perception that you want people to fuel that, you want people to fund that, and so it's a little hard, because like, if you use like a simple call to action where it's like share or follow for more or anything like that, people are like, well, you're using God to build your platform. And it's like, yes and no. God is a huge part of my life. I literally lead worship all the time, so it's like, I'm just filming my life and posting it on there. But also, I'm filming a moment where it changed a lot of lives, or where it saved a lot of lives, including my own, or like where you saw me be vulnerable at that point, you saw me be real and raw. And it's like, I want to show you that that's okay, And so like, it's hard because sometimes the message doesn't get across because because you put God into it, and you're using a platform like social media to do it, it doesn't come across authentically the way I want it to. So I think there's negative and there's positive, because within the negative, where people are like hating on it, or they're like, calling me something I'm not, or making me question why I did it or the motive of it, when I know deep down God knows my heart and I don't have to worry about that. And it also makes me question my own heart, and it's like, it makes me forget sometimes that God knows my heart, and that's the reason that I did it, And so for me, I think it's yin and yang, right? So it's yin and yang. So it's like where I get the negativity, like all the negative comments, but then out of that, I get people who literally reach out to me and they're like, hey, like, I love what you're doing. I actually had a girl walk up to me at church, and her name's Whitney, and I definitely want to say that because she gave me something that I truly needed that morning, because I was really questioning. I had a video, it didn't go viral, but it hit, it hit the algorithm, but it was for negativity beyond all belief. I've never had anything like this happen before. It was like over 200 comments of like just negativity, about I'm there's no way I'm, a disciple because I have like skinny jeans and like, it's just, there's just so much. Yeah, I know. I know, dude, so much. And I was just like, dude, like, why are you basing my heart off of my appearance? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the whole platform that I'm trying to create is like a Christian can't look like me. You know what I'm saying? And so like, you're basically saying that a Christian can't look like me, which, I mean, that should alone tell me that I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
But, right. It's hard if you read it, 200 times. So I was, I was really questioning it. I was really down. I was leading worship that morning. And she walks up to me and she said, I'm just going to be bold and say this. What you're doing on Instagram is truly changing people, and it's really helping people. So I don't want you to stop doing it. Please do not read into all the negativity. And I was just like, dude, I needed that. Ooh. I needed that so much, because it was just like the moment where the guy walks up to me at the gym, So it's just consistent moments of like reassurance.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to stop because you need it and somebody else needs it. And like, for me, I just decided like, I will offend many, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because not everyone drinks the same cup of tea, right?
Yeah.
I will offend many, but if I can save or help one, then it'll be all worth it. So like, there's definitely some negative and some positive in it, but you kind of have to just push past the negative, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me think, if a Christian can't look like you do, then I'm out of luck.
That's what I'm saying, and I want to show people that like you can, and like if
I still got track marks,
Really?
For real.
Oh wow, yeah.
So like, if a cleaned up, like you know.
I mean, I'm not an open book, So like, there's a lot of things that have happened in my life, that made me this cleaned up version. And I don't even think I'm cleaned up, because I mess up all the time. Like, I don't have everything together. And I think that's why I love worship so much, is because when I sing those words, there's a song where it's like, I don't deserve it. I truly believe that, when I'm singing those lyrics.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, to me, I use that time to just be like, I know I'm not perfect. I know that, but I'm going to follow you anyways, So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I'm not perfect, but I'm gonna follow you anyways. Yeah, that's true. That's a good way to put that. Yeah. Do you think that those comments are persecution?
I mean, if I read them enough, they feel that way, right?
Yeah.
It's tough. Some of them are constructive, but they also miss the point when they're trying to be constructive, where it's like, you can throw as many Bible verses you want at me, but you weren't there that night.
Oh, it's coming from believers.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That hurts even worse.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's people throwing verses at me. It's people saying, like, I remember one comment, it was like, if Jesus was still alive and him and his disciples were walking down the road and they saw this, I bet their first thought would be like, what even is this? This isn't even worship and stuff like that. I was just like, okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, there was just so much. Yeah. And like, and I think the thing that I need to stop doing too is clapping back. Like, I need to stop replying back. I need to stop like feeling that. And it's not just feeling that. It's me. I got to the point where I was like, I need to defend myself. I need to defend my own faith, because this is painting me in a picture that I'm not. And so I just and then also I've always been like a little witty, so for me it's like it was fun at first. I was like, all right, I'm gonna show people like I'm not gonna back down.
Yeah.
And then it just got so like, I'd be like, you completely missed the point of this post, and they say like, you completely missed the point of your life. It's like, then people just like dig in deeper, and it's just like, dude, like, you don't know me,
Yeah.
and so it's just like, then you get like emotional and personal. You're like, you don't know my heart, you don't know me, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know what that moment did for me and for several others, and so like, you can't really comment on that. But then it's like, you realize you're arguing with somebody who will never back down because they're behind the computer screen or behind the phone. And so like, people just say things. I think people project their own insecurities a lot, and they use a platform like that to do it. I've never seen so many people, like, there's people like, this person's dad, like that's their handle, or they're like, I go on their profile and they're like, they're a mom of 3 and they're literally telling me like I'm the worst person ever, and they're jumping on the bandwagon. It's like, I've never been that type of person to do that, so it just baffles me when I see it. But yeah, it's just, I believe like a lot of them, and the people call me false prophets, all this, like I'm doing, and then I would do this for free was one of the comments, and I'm like, I did do it for free. It's a volunteer position, you know, but also like, if I could get paid to do it, I would do that as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, so it's like, there's
a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks out there, and people that, when you're not in the game, you think it's one way, but it's one thing to step out and do it, It's a lot different when you get in front of a camera, or you're like on the stage, you're like doing your thing.
Yeah.
And you know that, but they don't.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's, if it was easy, everyone would do it, right?
Yeah.
So, and especially when you throw faith into it, it makes it 10 times harder, because now your audience is, and I don't want to say it like this, but they are very judgmental, because like they have their version of what Christianity should. There's reasons that wars were fought over religion, because people have a version of what they think it's supposed to be, and they will argue tooth and nail, and even obviously kill over it, because they think that's it, that's cut and dry, And I did a video where I said Christianity is not black and white, it's figuring out how to live in the gray area. And I think that is a great description of it, because people think it's, one person might say it's black, another person might say it's white, and then they argue about that. And it's like, it's actually not, it's both. It's figuring out how to live in that area. And there's a lot of room in the gray area. There's not a lot of room in the black or the white, because that's divided, right? So there's a lot of room here if you just realize that that's where you need to meet, in the middle. So
yeah, I know it's a lot messier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, but it's great.
Yeah.
Isn't it great though?
Maybe that's what's so fulfilling about it.
It is. It's great to be messy. It's great. Like there's one of my buddies, Angel Queso. It's his Instagram. He's an incredible guy. Incredible health journey, story, everything. Awesome dude. But he actually got to speak to his church, and he said the thing that stuck with me, that he said God wants your mess. He's like, I don't know about you guys, but I'm messy. He was like, God's here for the messy. He's here for the ratchet. He's like, I'm ratchet. And I was like, I love that. I love that you said that. Like, it's like, that's exactly what I'm trying to show, is like, you can be messy, and it's awesome, because you're never going to show up 100% every single day. You're just not.
Yeah.
And people say they are probably the people who show up the worst,
Right. Or they like wear the best, or like they clean the outside of the cup, like Jesus said, but not the inside.
Exactly. Right.
It makes me think too, like, dude, none of the disciples would have lived up to the code of that
they
time.
Weren't,
or they
dude.
still did.
They weren't. Think about it. They were all tax collectors, prostitutes. Like, think about it. It was like all the people that he asked to follow them weren't the people who were practicing the religion the right way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's not, he doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called, And that's where it's just like, when you realize that, you're like, oh, I too can do that,
Yeah. Thanks. So you talked about one of those videos, you had like this amazing moment at the church. What was that like? Like, what was happening? And
oh man, so we pulled everyone out in the lobby, and that's the first time we ever did it. It was for Good Wednesday, and I love the song Trust in God. Like, it just really allows me to, I think, solidify my relationship with Jesus. Like, it's just like, you've done all this, so this is why I trust in you, And it's like, I know, like, the lyrics are like, I sought the Lord, he heard and he answered, and it's obviously from the Bible. Obviously it's been rewritten, different versions, but in the grand scheme of things, it was taken from the Bible. And it's like, I sought the Lord, so I looked for God. He heard and he answered, and it's like, that's why I trust him. And it's like, it's just so incredible. And so it just solidifies my faith every single time I sing it. And most of the time I can't even sing it without tears in my eyes, right?
Yeah.
So like what we did was at the very end of the worship service, they were divided into auditoriums, and we were doing the worship in the lobby because I honestly don't know why. It was Good Wednesday. It was just like something we were trying. And so it was super cool. But at the end, I know the pastor was like, if you guys want to come visit, come worship with us in the lobby, like, you're more than welcome to. We would love to have you out here. If you're happy where you are, totally fine. Like, stay there, if you're comfortable. But we would invite you to come worship with us in the lobby. And the lobby just filled up, and we sang that song. And I know in the beginning, and like right before the bridge, there's like a little praise break, little instrumental or whatever. Right before we first sing the words, I sought the Lord and he heard and he answered. I said, like, if you believe this to be true, sing these next words with me. And everyone started singing. Yeah. And it was beautiful, man. Like, it was just like, it filled the room. And I know one of the videographers walked up to me. He's a great friend of mine. His name's Carson. He walked up to me and he said, when I die, I'm going to get emotional saying this, but he said, when I die and I meet Jesus for the first time, I will tell him that I already visited heaven once, because that's what that felt like. And I was like, wow. That was like one of the best compliments. And it's not even to say like compliments because I did good or anything like that, but it was just like, we really, like, we created that. Like, we were able to take the Holy Spirit and like, and like live it out the way we should have, and like it really moved people. And that was the moment that I posted. And to be fair, and to justify some people's comments, is I posted it as like a clap back from somebody who was making fun of one of my performances, and they said, like, not performances, but like, I was like, funny videos of me like playing air guitar or air drums or whatever, because that's what was going viral on my page. So I just kept posting them, and it's fun and it's funny and it's easy to do, right? Yeah. So I was like, let's just keep recreating this. And the guy said, like, worship leaders making everything about themselves for 3 seconds. And I was like, that's a good hook too. I'll use that, like, as, clap back. And so I did worship leaders making everything about themselves. And I panned to show the crowd singing in that moment. And then my caption was, it sure looks like I'm making it about me, doesn't it? And like, the one thing I probably messed up, well, that was obviously like a dig towards that comment, but it's also just showing people, like, it's not about me. It's I'm showing like what it did for the crowd, what it did for all those people. And but I did say, like, obviously share, like I said, share if you trust in God, which is like, that's just a call to action. That's what people do for social media, but also that helps the post, it helps the page, it helps whatever, right? And yes, in turn, it grows my page or grows that post. But what it also does is it gets that out to more eyes, to more ears, and it's like, so it's like, I think it's a double-edged sword, because it's where, yes, it does grow my platform, but if I don't say it, would you share it? You know what I mean? Yeah. And if you're not going to share it, then nobody's going to see it. And so it's like, I want that to be seen by as many people, because you saw a raw, vulnerable moment of me, like, just kind of almost breaking down and like inviting people to share that same like vulnerability that I have. And so I did. And it's like, yeah, I honestly don't regret it. I don't regret posting it. I don't. I probably should have just posted it the way it was, instead of saying like worship leaders making everything about themselves. And that's the social media side of me, right? Where just like, you're using a tag, a hook, and a call to action. It's like, okay, like, that's the 3 things a post needs to do well. And anything that you do, I mean, you should strive to do it well. So it's not like I'm not just gonna post things and like, God, just take this, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's because I understand social media and I understand how it works. And so it's just like, for me, I'm still going to use the tag, the hook, and the call to action and the captions and talking to people, because that's how you have conversations. Otherwise, that post that, had a beautiful moment could have been seen by nobody. And it's like, I want to see the amount of people that it can change. And honestly, it worked that way. There was a lot of negativity, but there was a lot of positivity out of it too. I had a lot of people reaching out to me, And that's what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to show people that it was a beautiful moment. And there's a lot of people who were there that night who commented in the section, said, I was there that night, and this is not how you think it went. Like, it was an incredible moment. It's probably one of the best moments of worship I've ever, and it was so like stripped back, you know, and it was just all of us singing together. And that's all I was really trying to show. So
yeah, I think it's cool to just hear you talk about it and be vulnerable about it, because I relate too. And it's something like, yeah, I would like, there's like a line of like promotion and like, does God open doors, or do we do everything we can also?
Yeah.
You know, so that's like a tough thing that I kind of battle with as well.
I think he gives opportunities, and you just have to capitalize on it. Like, you have to know what is from him and what's not from him, you know? And I think you know in your gut when you're doing something you shouldn't be doing, versus when you're like, okay, this seems like almost like a blessing that I shouldn't ignore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, sometimes when you're not supposed to, it's like swimming upstream.
Yeah.
You're like fighting so hard and getting nowhere.
But there's a reason. There's a reason that the current's against you.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, that's where you, because like that's what happened with me in the marketing, like the job that I was in. It was just like, I felt something pulling me away consistently, but I kept pushing against it. And I didn't make like tons of money off of it. And there's a reason. There's people who are making millions, right? But it's like, I wasn't one of those people, because I was consistently swimming into a current against me, right? And I knew that the person who was pushing that current against me was God. And it took me to meet another believer on the team. We talked about it, we prayed about it together, we had a discussion, and when he joined the team, we actually both quit shortly after. So it was like, I was like, do you feel like this is what you're called to do? Do you feel like this, you know, this is from Christ? And it was like, he's like, I'm so glad you brought this up. Like, let's have a talk about it, because I prayed about this last night. He was like, and it just, I think that pulled both of us away from it, you know? And now we're both like creating separately. Great friends. We're both creating separately and seeing results from it, you know? We're also waking up and loving what we do. So
yeah,
it helps.
Dang. Who discipled you, or like where did you learn all this, or like how to follow Christ? And
well, I was brought in like a traditional Lutheran style church, but a Trinity Lutheran church. So it's like, that's, you know, but I just went there because I was told to go there. It wasn't my choice. Okay. So then it's like, my parents got divorced. We stopped going to church altogether, which is always been odd to me, because I feel like that's when you need God the most, right? It's when like things like that go negative in your life. But so I was like, I have to find my own, and I church shopped for like the longest time. And then that's when I was with my girlfriend, who's, you know, my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time. And she was like, I know you don't go to church. I know this. Like, I totally know you don't go to church, but like, come to my church, you know, come support what I do and like what my family does, and just like show that, just be a good boyfriend. That's really all what it was. Like, just be a good boyfriend. We're going to church. You obviously believe, so like, just come to my church. It was in a movie theater at the time, dude. So I was like, we're going at 9 a.m. and like, what are they giving us popcorn? Like, well, this is a movie theater. This isn't a church. Yeah. But when I walked in and I heard the music for the first time, that's when everything just changed. And I was just like, I did not know you could sing a song like that and have that connect to God. And then when I heard the pastor talk, he literally just like, there was so much humility. And it was like, he showed me that a leader is someone who is broken. A leader isn't someone who's fixed. You know, a leader is someone who messes up, not who gets everything right. And like, it was just like, I am broken. I don't get everything right. I've been through so many things that people don't even know about. You know, I've messed up so many times. I've questioned so many things, but I can be a leader.
Yeah.
Because he is.
Right.
You know? And so it just changed my whole mentality. And I was like, if he can be a leader, I can be a leader. And I think that there are certain people in life where, like, you know, they just have the gift given to them where if they speak, or in my case, they sing, people listen. Not everyone has that, right? And so it's just like, I know that people listen to me when I talk, and it's not something I take for granted. And so, and I think it's just, I say things with conviction because of things that I've been through. You know, I say things with passion because of the things I've been through. I know life is too short because of things I've been through. And so for me, it's like, it's no secret that this is what I'm meant to do. Now, how do I do it to honor Christ as much as I can? And so the discipleship or like sort of person who taught me true, I don't even want to say faith. I think the church taught me to switch from religion to relationship, and that changed everything for me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, from religion to relationship.
Yeah, religion's man-made. Relationship is that's from God. You know, I think religion divides, whereas relationship obviously builds a community. And I remember this guy told me at the gym, he was like, "What is," you know, just trying to like take a jab at me because he knew like I posted faith content. He's like, "What does religion say about working out, bro?" And I was like, "I don't deal with religion. I deal with relationship." And he like shut up within seconds, and he was just like, "I've never heard that before." And I was like, "Religion's man-made, bro. I don't serve men." And he was like, "Wow."
Maybe in a way you planted a seed right there.
Maybe. I hope.
Yeah.
I hope. But like it was just instantaneous, and I didn't even like think. It just came out like within seconds, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's what I believe." You know, like I like confirmed my belief right then and there because like I was so strong into it. And like I deal with people all the time, like, what does God say about this? What does God say about that? Because like they know, like I post things and they see it. You know, I'll tag the gym and I'll tag whatever brand I'm working with at the time or whatever, and it's always Christian based. So it's like for the longest time I was doing like Jesus tees and swim trunks because I was like working out, and then I was going cold plunging. You know, so it was just like. It's just like a little series that I started, and so I would wear like a different Jesus t-shirt, and like so I would get people talking about it all the time. But yeah, it just like the words flew out of my mouth, and I was like, yeah, that's what I believe. So
that's legit.
Yeah.
You said something on the phone one time that I thought was awesome, and you were talking about being a worship leader at your church, and you had just talked about building up your church and where you were at, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. Like you didn't need to go somewhere else to be fulfilled. That like you felt God could do it right where you're at.
Yeah, 100%. I see what he did, you know, what he does on a weekend basis to like 500 to 1,000 people on a weekend basis, and like if he does that within the church, like creates moments like that in our church, it's like those moments can be distributed, right? So it's like I also want to give to a church who has given so much to me. So as much as I want to make this a career, and if I was offered like, hey, go to different churches and lead worship, it's like I would, I don't know that I would jump the gun and say I would do that right away. It depends on like obviously how much money, what it would cost, like in terms of like time away from family and loved ones and all that stuff, right? But like ultimately, like I am definitely my church is home. My church is home, and I think that's why I'm so like strong and passionate about it. That's why I invited you tonight, because it's like it's like inviting a friend over to your house. It's like I want you to see my home. I want you to see why I call it home. I want you to meet the people, aka like the family, right? Like I want you to be a part of that, because if it has the same effect on you that it did on me and does on me, it's life-changing,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Man. Yeah, it is a family. It's a church family. And so you were saying like kind of an evangelist style worship leader?
Yeah, I mean, it's, it's definitely not Pentecostal. It's not anything like that, but it's definitely like, yeah, it's contemporary style. It's, we sing like Hillsong, what is it, Elevation, Jesus Culture, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's just it's a way to show me like I can still take my R&B roots and stuff like that and connect to God. And like honestly, like it's crazy, because one of my best friends said, like I was trying to figure out, what do I do? I lead worship and I'm an artist, and I want to be able to do both. And he's like, you're a worship artist, is what he told me. He was like, you're a worship artist. He said, when I see you sing worship, you sing to people. When you sing like, all these R&B songs and stuff like that, sure, you technically sound good, but you're singing at people. You're like, look at me, look what I can do. He's like, but when you lead worship, he's like, you're singing to people. That's when you're most vulnerable, and you're like, look what it did, not look what I can do.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, one's giving and one's receiving.
Exactly.
Also.
Yeah. And look, I mean, like there's times where like I do like different riffs and runs in like worship and stuff like that, but like I realize that because I see so many singers do that when they like lead, and like it's usually in like hardcore church. Like when someone can riff and run, they're like, oh, I was born in church, like church I was bred in church.
What do you mean by riff and run?
Like when you take a note from here and bring it down to here, but you hit everything in between.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like you know, when you hear like the Chris Stapleton Tennessee whiskey, like when you hear like all that stuff, it's like it's stylizing your voice. It's embellishments. It's stuff like that. It's not staying on that one note. It's like,
oh, I see,
roller coaster.
Yeah. It's like a little extra.
That stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
some soul in it.
It is. That's where R&B and soul and all that stuff comes from. So it's like but the thing is, when I do it in church, sometimes like I don't even know I'm doing it, and it's like oh, that was the Holy Spirit. It was definitely not me. You know what I mean? Like, because it wasn't planned, it wasn't rehearsed that way. It wasn't. So I think I incorporate the style that I was growing up on, and like in church and like in the music in church, but it's like it's not forced. It never feels forced. And I think that you know, that's what my best friend said too. He was just like, you're not forcing it. You know, even when like I have like little raspy moments and like I reach for the heavens with a note, you know, it's like, it's not forced. It's not like I'm not forcing it. It's just like, that's what I feel called to do in that moment. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It sounds like a uniqueness to you also. Like each person has their own strengths and.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah. I mean, I've always been like the one, like, you know, I'm very projecting, you know, because I'm very like, there's sometimes like I describe it, sometimes I literally like tear my heart out and just like leave it on the stage and walk away, you know, like, because like I'll leave in tears after the prayer, or even like, you know, like a song will bring me to tears because it's like, dude, I feel this, you know, I feel like I don't deserve it. I feel like I've been sinned or a sinner, you know, I feel like I've gone through all this, and I feel connected to you. Like I feel all that. So it's like, and I just allow myself to feel it on stage, you know. The biggest thing I remember is when I first started leading worship, the guy was like, don't do this, don't do that, don't close your eyes, don't do that. And like, it was just like, then it had me thinking technically. And then I was like, if I don't lead worship per se, and I just worship and I show people like, this is how my relationship with God looks like.
Yeah.
That will allow them to see somebody who's literally just worshiping, and it won't feel like a leader and a follower. It'll just say like, oh, if you're doing that, then I can do that too. I can take this moment in this space to do that as well. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to strip the word, like, and that's obviously like, that's the negativity that you get too, the worship leader. Like, I'm trying to strip the lead away from it and like just show you like, I will break down on this stage to show you that it's okay to do it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I absolutely love it, man. I love it because it's just like, it's reviving for me. It's a moment that I need usually throughout the week. So,
do you feel a responsibility that comes with that?
Now I do. I do for sure. I definitely feel like it's put on me a lot more. You know, I was scheduled to sing like 2 Sundays a month, and now it's like I'm every Sunday, every Wednesday, which I love it. Like I love it because the more time I can get, like that's my prayer, right? It's you know, we pray before we eat. Like my wife and I need to obviously be better at that. We pray before we go to bed. Like we read the Bible together lately a lot more now, which is good. Like we try to dive in the Word together a lot more. But that's my true prayer. My true prayer is during worship. My true prayer is when I can just literally bare my soul. Like it's like using the gift that God gave me for Him, you know, and like let me pour it all out. Like let me even like strain it. Let me do all of that, because I will show you that everything you gave me, I'll give back and then some. You know, so I definitely feel like a responsibility now, because I think there are certain people who can do it the right way, and like, you know, they can get up there and they can move people, and there's certain people who just sing it to sing it, and I definitely feel like I take that opportunity to literally just, like I said, be as vulnerable as I can, and people, the response is there. You know, people walk up to me, so it's like I feel like now it's definitely not a job, but it's definitely a responsibility for sure. Yeah, but I love it. If I could wake up and do this and get paid, and I know I say get paid, and I'm not trying to say it like negatively, but like, you know, if I could, if this was everything I did every day, if I woke up and I just like got to like worship and thank God.
But you want to be able to provide, and you want to.
I don't need millions. Yeah. I don't need millions. I don't need that. I just need like enough to like, well, just enough to get by, you know, just enough to provide for my family and stuff like that. I don't need a Rolls Royce. I don't need a Rolex. I would love one, but I don't need one, you know? So it's just, if I could make this a career, I I would totally do it every day.
Yeah, I like what you said about like giving of your true self.
Yeah.
I just heard this thing today that was talking about Cain and Abel.
Okay.
And how Cain like toiled for his sacrifice and worked the ground, and like it was very hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
But Abel gave like the first of his what he was given, like his animals or whatever. But it was his true self. Like
Right.
he just gave out of what he had.
Right.
And Cain was like working so hard. He was like swimming upstream.
Right.
And like that's what it feels like. Like you're just giving of your true self, and it's natural, and like that is your sacrifice. That's your.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's not like not money. It's not. It's that's honestly like that was the biggest gift given to me was I think the ability to sing, but it was also like, okay, I gave you this. Now what are you gonna do it for? You know, I gave you this. Now what are you gonna do with it? And it's like if I wake up every day and I honor you, and I teach people to honor you, and I teach people to I think be vulnerable in their relationship with him is the biggest thing that I want to show. It's like, this is the difference between religion and relationship. I'm not singing a hymn that you don't know the words to, that, and it's no disrespect, but this is my relationship. Like, this is my journey with faith. I'm not singing something that, you can't understand, or like that it's like, it could put you to sleep, because that's the masses of things, right? I'm singing something that you will watch me literally break down while I sing. And so it's just like, you can also have that same relationship. You can also understand that you have flaws, that you have sinned, that you're going through something, and that this song could get you through it. But it's not the song, it's not the notes that I'm choosing, it's the lyrics, it's the way you connect with Christ through it. And so like, if you can see me do that, then you can too,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I think it's cool to hear you talk about it, and like, that you give yourself. And I know that from the moment I talked to you, like, you've always been willing to share anything with me and help me or whatever, and I appreciate that. Like, I can see your heart through that.
Thanks, man.
So that's been cool.
Yeah.
And I'm excited. I'm going to watch you worship tonight. Yes. And if it works out, I'm trying to get that attached to this.
It'll work out. It'll work out. I'll do it for him if I need to.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Cory, thanks a lot, man.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. We'll do it again.
Sweet.